12 to 25 instead of 25. You want to mince the numbers? It's over 4,000. 12 per day, it's over 4,000. So the numbers it's working for us, and I think you're very close to being right.
Well, the important thing is just saying to them and say, what's your number? Just ask them.
Look, and get a picture of this. I really want. I want to be shaking. This is the man that I want to be shaking because he has helped our movement a great deal. So, if we're rolling, this is Congressman Steve King, and in some prior interviews, you've heard me mention him because we spoke on the same stage at Unite to Fight last year. Mark Edwards' operation in Vegas, and Congressman King has been very, very strong with the public on controlling illegal immigration, but he also did something he can talk a little bit more about. He's actually tried to estimate the number of Americans that are being killed each day through the illegal acts by illegal aliens, and I believe about half of them were DUIs.
About half.
And let's just say that's 12 for a second. At 12 Americans killed per day, that's over 4,300 per year, which is more than the casualty count on September 11th and more than the combined troop losses of Iraq and Afghanistan. But this is a number that should be growing each year and repeats each year. And our hearts and our main priority goes out to those families that are getting the dreaded knock at the door, the ring on the phone, and they're picking up the phone, and basically they've lost their loved one. They've lost their loved one through the criminal act of another person, and in most of these cases they're finding out that their loved one is gone because the government on the local and federal level failed in its most basic responsibilities to enforce the law. But Congressman Steve King, on behalf of everybody home, I just can't thank you enough for what you do.
Thank you.
Tell us about your presence here today and what you're talking to people about and what you'd like the people back home to know.
Well, I stopped in here. There's a whole array of subject matter when it comes to immigration. It's one of the most complicated issues this country's ever seen. It's a destiny issue. If we get this wrong, there is no do-over. There is no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. So it's important that the American people rise up and understand this. We have a national debate, and patriotic Americans come forward, defend the rule of law. That's part of what's at stake here. The middle class is another piece that's at stake. And I would reference the Robert Breckner study of the Heritage Foundation. He has done an analysis of households headed by high school dropouts, of which most immigrants are, especially illegal immigrants, are high school dropouts. Those dropouts heading a household will cost the American taxpayer an average of $22,449 a year. And for the duration of that household, that's one.
Especially Mexico encouraging their prison, their criminal population to move north. And they illustrate a criminal propensity to enter the country illegally and identity theft. So it would make sense that we would have higher crime levels in the illegal alien population.
Let me just say, it's just simply not true that immigrants commit fewer crimes percentage-wise than American citizens do. There are immigrants who are on the line, essentially on probation, that are working towards citizenship. Legal immigrants who commit statistically marginally less crime because they know they're on probation. Illegal immigrants commit a lot more crime per capita. The violent crime rate in the United States is 4.28 violent deaths per 100,000. In Mexico, it's 13.2.
Wow.
In Honduras, it's 9 times that. In El Salvador, they won't let you know what the records are. And in Colombia, it's 15.4 times the violent crime rate as we have in the United States. And so what else could you expect but more crime rather than less crime coming from that population demographic? Plus, young men bring with them society's pathologies, and of course that increases the odds that there'll be violent criminals. And $65 billion worth of illegal drugs comes across that Mexican border every year to the streets of America. That also filters criminals coming into the United States. That's why we have to say goodbye to so many Americans who have been victims of this kind of crime. And when you look at the loss that we've had in the Middle East, in Iraq, for example, and realize that the total of those killed in Iraq pales in comparison to those American citizens that die at the hands of those who make it across the desert. That is a prime responsibility that I have to protect the American people.
Representative King, excellent groups like Mr. Gheen's ALIPAC and of course FAIR have brought Americans from all over the country together in D.C. this week to lobby their congressman. Do you think this is an important and valuable thing? What would you say to those Americans? Is what they're doing important and valuable?
I think holding Congress's feet to the fire is an essential thing that we have to do. The American people have to rise up and they have to have their voice heard. And a lot of members of Congress are concerned about, are they going to be able to keep their job after the next election? You need to remind them that you're the voice of the American people. You can move this Congress if you speak up and you speak out.
Well, Congressman King, what you're doing with the information is just proving what the people at home know already. They've got people with a lot of money trying to convince them that what they already know from what they're seeing in their communities isn't real. There's nothing happening here, folks, and your efforts to rectify that situation and provide some actual statistics and information is exactly what they need. And I'd just like the people at home to know that we're up here fighting on behalf of the people who have already lost their loved ones, but we're also up here fighting to protect tomorrow's 12 to 25 families that are going to go through this. And thank you again for what you do. So we're so glad to have you.
Congressman King, before you go, I have one question, please. My name is Frank George. I live in California. California, of course, is completely overrun, and we have many large areas where we receive the insult of seeing the Mexican flag being flown above the American flag. In fact, in the Antelope Valley, which is where I am from, we recently had that incident for the very first time. How is it possible that this president does not know that these things are happening, that it is a quickening pace, and what is his rationale for keeping this border open and keeping these people here while giving them services such as schooling, which are unfunded mandates, and other things that are being given to them free? What is his reasoning on this?
I think that there's a flawed premise. The idea that if you legalize 12 to 20 or more million people, somehow law enforcement then can concentrate on the rest. They'd have to be simply granting this amnesty to a lot of criminals and a lot of drug dealers and terrorists as well. There's not a rationale that says that we legalize people somehow or another, they're no longer a problem to us because you let them then flow back and forth across the border at will. So I don't understand the president's rationale. In fact, I do not believe it's rational. I think it's a flawed premise. And then, can the president know what's going on? There's a shield around him, one that excuses some of these things away. He's probably not seeing the pictures of the Mexican flag flying above an upside-down American flag. I am. The American people need to see it. If they raise enough holy thunder, the president will see it too.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.